Hey everybody, my name's Ed. Okay, so another comic book haul. Let's see here. Things to talk about. I've been trying to catch up with the stuff that's going on recently. I know there was the Henry Cavill thing from about a week or so ago, where he was giving an interview regarding The Witcher, and the interviewer asked him something about, oh, do you get tired of all these toxic fans and whatnot? And he said something to the effect of, hey, you know what? People who are fans of, any of this type of material that ends up getting adapted into movies or TV shows, I don't really think they're toxic. I think, they're passionate. They have a right to feel however they feel about any particular adaptation. And I don't think he was particularly wrong when he said that. But what's funny though is that like I got all these videos appearing in my feed after watching it, and a lot of those videos are from people who in my opinion make a lot of like disingenuous videos. You know what I mean? Uh, when Henry Cavill was saying, he doesn't think fans are toxic, I'm sure he's talking about the people who, genuinely read, the comics or play the video games and, are part of a community. They have debates back and forth and things like that. And, a certain, a Justice League movie or whatever comes out and they're underwhelmed by it. They wish it was better or whatever. I think those are the people he's talking about. I don't think he's talking about, you know, people who buy action figures and make videos of themselves cutting the heads off of them, or other people who make 30 videos about a movie that hasn't been released yet, talking about how it's going to fail and it's going to flop and it's, the worst thing ever and whatnot. So, I mean, toxic fandom does exist. I think Henry is trying to more or less stick up for, like I said, the actual fans who want to like something, but then sometimes disappointed, as opposed to people who are just kind of cashing in on, kind of fake outrage and whatnot. I saw, um, oh, well, no. Then the other thing that's kind of related to that is like seeing reaction videos to the new James Bond movie. I've seen, or a couple of things have popped up. The whole, oh, the new James Bond movie, it's woke. Oh no! It's like, really, really, what's woke about it? There's a black 007 female. It's still the star of the movie is still Daniel Craig. It's Daniel Craig is still James Bond, and he's still the guy that's going to save the day. Okay, they're not really replacing, James Bond. Okay, I just don't get that. And as far as how woke it was, it's like, what's woke about it? There's there's a black woman in it. Well, whoop de fucking do. There's been, where were you like a couple movies ago with Black Money Penny? You know what I mean? And like Black Money Penny is like going on field missions and shooting crap up. Somehow we're not worried about it being woke. Or better yet, were you like 15, 20 years ago when Halle Berry was in, which one was Halle Berry in? Halle Berry was in Die Another Day. I don't know. I can't remember. There's Tomorrow, and there's Tomorrow Never Dies, and there's Die Another Day. For some reason, I get those titles mixed up, but both of them are relevant. There's a movie with Halle Berry where Halle Berry is James Bond's sidekick, and then there's and then she, people reacted positive to her, and they almost did like a Jinx spinoff. Jinx was the code name for that character in the film, whatever. But you know what I mean? But nobody was complaining about how woke the movie was then. And then there was, I'm sure it was Tomorrow Never Dies. That's the one with Michelle Yeoh. Michelle Yeoh is, an Asian woman action star, who was his sidekick in that movie, kicking ass and taking names and, karate chopping villains and stuff like that. Somehow that movie wasn't woke. But now, and when did that come out? Like the late 90s or whatever? 20 years ago. But now you've got, minority female sidekick woman, whatever, in a James Bond movie. It's supposedly woke. And they're shoving something down our throats that was already there for the last 20 years. But all right, whatever. Which also made me think about the whole thing of the other things that are showing up. The old Charlie's Angels movie failed. It's because people are tired of woke movies. It's Charlie's freaking Angels. What is? Look, I saw the. It's a movie about girl detectives that wear fashion and solve mysteries. I mean, Jesus friggin' frig. It's a reboot of something that came out, what, again, 10, 15 years ago. The Drew Barrymore movies, which were a comedy version of a campy 70s show, which was about girl detectives wearing high fashion and solving crimes. I'm like, what's woke about that? It's like anytime you have women in like these genre fiction movies these days, somebody wants to complain about how it's woke. I mean, I didn't see it. The trailers I saw look kind of crappy to me, but that's fine. Whatever. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, that's great too. But it's just weird to me, this whole sort of oh no, we're all rejecting the wokeness. What else is going on? Getting to the comics. The artist has kind of drawn Black Widow to look like she sort of looks. There's a faint resemblance to Scarlett Johansson here, but I did see the trailer for the new Black Widow movie, so I'm kind of intrigued. I don't know if I'll see it in the theater or whatever, but it looks interesting enough. They have the Yelena character in it, and they have somebody being the Crimson Guardian, so it'll be interesting how they do that. In the original comics, the original Crimson Guardian was Black Widow's first husband, and he was going to be the Soviet Captain America. And there's their whole I don't know if we want to get into the whole thing. They did a whole story in the old Avengers comics back in the 60s, and seriously, you couldn't do that storyline now and still have it make sense. But he was going to be the first Captain America. They had lied to her and told her that he had died, and that was their way of getting her to participate in their spy program. Later, that's all been retconned to where she was trained from birth in the Red Room and blah 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 blah, yakety schmackety. So yeah, but that'll be interesting to see how that plays off in the cinematic universe. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm pretty sure I mentioned seeing the Wonder Woman trailer. That looked fun. Again, I don't think I'll see it in a trailer, but I will get around to seeing it when it comes on DVD. And I don't know, and I guess that's it. I was supposed to go out of town. My original plan was to go out of town for holidays this weekend, but some stuff's going on, so I'm gonna push that back a little bit, but I'll still go see my family and stuff. So anyway, let's talk about comics. Black Widow. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in the last video. I'm really disappointed in how this comic book came out. It's just really, especially the first issue. The first issue seemed kind of interesting, had an interesting setup with her trying to clean up some loose ends and things like that, and basically we find out from loose ends from some old missions, I should say that, and then we find out people are killing people on her list of, her ledger, people that she owes or whatever, and we go through the story and we meet other people that she has close relationships with. Tony Stark, Iron Man makes an appearance. Yelena makes an appearance. In this issue in my hand, she's got a bow and arrow. That's because Hawkeye's there, as well as Matt Murdock. Both of these are characters that she's had romantic relationships with and whatnot. But the way the comics come off it's really lackluster. Like I said, the first issue had me intrigued. I thought it was well done and well crafted. The rest of it, it just really feels like it's been this rush, get it done thing. So this is the second to last issue, and that's fine. But it's a lot of that same old. Oh, my past has come back to haunt me. Dun dun dun. And we've had this story over and over and over with the Black Widow, and I just really think the editors at Marvel really need to encourage the people that pitch the ideas, that are pitching ideas. Please come up with something new. You know, I did like the whole idea of the last miniseries written by I can't say their names, the Jakonska sisters or whatever, the ladies, the ladies who make horror movies, where they had the Black Widow, chasing down child traffickers and stuff. At least, that was a new thing. It wasn't this whole blood on my ledger, red room, in my past, I'm so sad type of stuff. So, all right. So I will get the last issue, but kind of a letdown. Angela De La Morte was good. It was interesting. It's mostly just setup. Basically, you've got the astronaut, her sidekick Monkey, and they're investigating some sort of mystery in space, mystery on some planet, or whatever. And I'm not really too sure what's going on. It's written and drawn by Salvador Sanz, who I don't know. I don't know anything about that person. But it's nice looking. I'm pretty sure I mentioned in the last video, it's a lot less Star Trek, Star Wars, and a lot more 2001, if that makes any sense. So Nito Keen. All right. Okay. Let's see here. Pretty Deadly was okay. You know what? I really need to reread this. When we get to the conclusion, I'm gonna reread it all in one sitting, just because I'm sure I'm missing something. Just with the whole sort of, dreamy, surrealistic approach they're taking. I feel that I'm speeding through it all. And not engaging with the material in the way that it's probably intended to be engaged with. Red Mother #1. This is the Jay Lee cover, right? Yep. Interesting. Basically, this issue is all set up. We have this woman and her boyfriend who are walking home, and then something weird happens. They're attacked. All anybody can understand is they're attacked, and the boyfriend disappears, and the woman has had her eye ripped out. Ooh. And everybody's just trying to figure out what happened, what's going on. She kind of has these visions and stuff. And right now, this issue is her just trying to kind of cope with things. And like I said, everyone's trying to piece together what did or didn't happen. It has the feel of, again, more of a suspense thriller type movie or film. I wonder, I don't know how many people remember, back in the late 70s, there was a movie called Eyes of Laura Mars. It was about this fashion photographer, this female fashion photographer who was seeing murders through the eyes of a serial killer or something like that. And It's been a long time since I saw it. I just barely remember it, but I want to say Tommy Lee Jones was in it as well. But I don't know, for whatever reason, that was the first thing I thought of it. I mean, probably just the obvious, mystery, eye thing, horror, semi-horror vibe and whatnot. But big city, crazy stuff going on in the big city. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was an interesting setup, nice art, believable dialogue, believable characters. So cool. Punisher Soviet 2. Okay, so basically, in this issue, this is it was Garth Ennis and Jason Burrows and Gilberto Ortego, and basically, the Punisher catches up with the guy that's killing all the mob guys that everybody thinks the Punisher has killed, and the guy ends up telling them all of his stories about being in the Russian army and about being in Afghanistan back in the 80s. And that's most of well, this part here that I'm showing you is him fighting off, some mob guys, or the two of them fighting off mob guys. But the real thing is yeah, this guy telling Frank Castle all of his old war stories, which is pretty interesting. You basically get the feeling this is what Garth Ennis really wants to be doing. Like the Punisher is really just his excuse to tell like war stories. What was that? The series that just came out, was it last year or whatever? It was basically these guys telling these old stories about Frank Castle when Frank Castle was in Vietnam and part of their unit. But the story wasn't about just Frank Castle. It was about the whole unit and whatnot. But it was more. But yeah, these guys get together and they're telling all these crazy stories about Vietnam and whatnot. And they're not bad comics at all. They're actually pretty interesting and engaging. But like I said, it's funny that that's clearly what Garth Ennis is using the Punisher as a vehicle for him to tell old Cold War era war stories. What's interesting? I read when I was reading my comics, I read Black Widow, then I read this. And I was thinking, oh my God, how much more interesting Black Widow would have been if it had this plot, it works with the whole thing of, the Widow being an ex-Soviet agent, being very long-lived, and all of that, it just would have been really, really, really interesting. But okay. All right. And Lois Lane number 6. So this is somehow tied to the Leviathan event. I've not been reading it. I have not been paying attention to it. But it actually works separate from that. Basically, it's Lois Lane at the funeral for her father, who is an ex-military person, and it's a lot of like flashbacks and her feelings about everything and her family and whatnot, and it works. Like I said, it works divorced from the whole other event that's going on. Like I said, we get her feelings about her family. There's a scene where did I mention this before? This ad? I was in the store. I actually saw Suicide Squad #1. I didn't buy it or anything, but I really do like this art here. I must have mentioned it. Bruno Redondo. It looks like, you just look at it. It looks like Neil Adams or something. That's what it makes me think of. But anyway, back to the comic in hand. We get all this stuff with her having conflict with her dad, and her being an army brat, and him trying to put his foot down, and her being rebellious. We get him and his feelings about her relationship with Clark Kent, her relationship with Superman, his feelings about all that. Hey, why didn't you tell me I'm your dad? You've kind of been lying to me all this time. I know how you would have felt. Blah 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 blah. But like I said, it's a fun. It's not a fun, but it was a well put together story. I was touched. I was moved. Now I'm not too sure what all of this means now after what do you call it? Doomsday Crisis, or no, Doomsday Clock. The last issue was them basically, tweaking DC's continuity yet again. So, I didn't read it. I watched a couple people's videos where they kind of spoiled it, which is fine. But so yeah, I don't know if Clark and Lois are still going to be married. I don't know if they're still going to have a son. We'll see. Okay, so that's that. I'll show you the comics I got this week. So I got Heartbeat 2. Angela de la Morte 2. Gideon Falls 19. Safe Sex 4. This is kind of an ugly cover. Sorry. See if we can look at it without all that glare. There we go. Invisible Woman number 5. His conclusion here of this story. And King Thor number 4. This feels pretty thick. I think this is a double-sized issue. And this is the conclusion of this story. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. You guys have a great day.